All right, so we're about ready to get back on 75 North. Look, Mom, no hands. Anyway, I mean, you gotta have fun doing this stuff, right? Come on, you can't all be so serious with the testing. All I'm doing is sitting here in the car, watching the car drive. It's pretty boring. Actually, I have good music playing though, that's for sure. Today, this is going to be a fun one because we're going to be doing the test that all of you have been waiting for, at least maybe some of you have. Anyway, we're going to run this Model 3 Performance with a roof box on it, the Thule Motion XT. This is the large, and we're going to run it probably, I don't know how long the loop is. We'll take a look at it in a moment, but we're going to run it forwards, mounted forwards, the way that it should be mounted, at least the way they tell you to in the instruction book. And then we're going to flip it around and mount it backwards. And then what I'm also going to do is I'm going to run without the box at all. I'm going to leave the crossbars on only because they're a little bit of a pain to take on and off. And I need to put this box back on to be able to drive back up to Connecticut in a couple of days. So I think it'll be interesting to see. I'm curious. I know there have been others that have done this test in the past, but they haven't done it the way we're going to do it. At least I don't think so. So let's get into this. Let's go over the testing procedures and set this day out. It's a beautiful day here in sunny Florida. Here I am in Naples on the corner of Route 951 and 41, and beautiful V4 chargers over here. But what's really interesting is you can't use the Magic Dock that's hidden in there. So hopefully they'll be able to release those soon. You got to use the adapter here. This is not open to all CCS vehicles. So let's get into this Thule box challenge here and see what we get for efficiency. So here is the vehicle of choice. This is my 2024 Model 3 Performance, and you can see the roof box is mounted up on top. I drove this down from Connecticut the other day, all the way from Connecticut here to Naples, Florida, and really pretty amazing trip the whole time. And I'll go over the statistics as far as the efficiency that I had on that trip. But, you know, it's up there solid. It rides really well. But let's get into the rules that we're going to be running. Now, the first thing I needed to do was to bring this car. I preconditioned from about 10 miles away, and I just plugged in at a 43% state of charge. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to charge it all the way up to 80%, and then we're going to set off on a road all the way, almost halfway to Miami, which is going to be Alligator Alley, Route 75. And there's a rest stop right in the middle, actually with another Tesla supercharger. I'm not going to be using that there. But what we're going to do is we're going to go all the way out there, 70 miles an hour. We're going to leave the temperature on automatic at a 72 degrees. And I'm going to use cruise control, no drafting allowed. And we're gonna run it out there and run it back. I'll let you know how many miles that's going to be. And we're gonna do it first with the roof box mounted the way the instruction manual says to do it, with the roof box facing forward. Now, what's interesting is you can see the rear of the box has like a slant coming in, like a buzz cut. And the front of the box kind of does as well. But it'll be interesting from an efficiency standpoint to see which is really better. And most importantly, I think, or more importantly, how much efficiency does that roof box, if it's mounted forward or backwards, how much does it really cost you on a day like today, which is beautiful, no wind. It's the perfect day to do this test. So let's charge up, and then we'll start on the trip. Let's go ahead and take a look at the trip. Okay, so you can see we're already up to a 58% state of charge, and we're only pulling less than 100 kilowatts right now. I've got a charge limit set to 80%, but let's go ahead and look at charging stations that, okay, so we're going to go across here. So you can see this is where I'm going to charge. So we're right down here now, and we're going to go up over to there and back. First with the box mounted forwards, and you'll see that we're gonna go from here in Naples all the way up over to here in 75 and then cut across. And then we're literally going to turn around once we get all the way out here in the middle of nowhere. I mean, if you like alligators, there's a lot of alligators over here where we're going to go. Maybe we'll see one on the way out. And then we're going to turn around and come back. Then I'm going to precondition the battery back up to 80%. Well, I should say precondition to whatever, temperature it needs to be at. Then we're going to plug back in here again and we're going to bring it up to 80%. But I'm going to actually turn the roof box around backwards. Then we're going to go out to this spot, and let me just see how many miles that is. It's Okeechobee, Florida. And how many miles is that? It's, wow, it's actually 59 miles one way. All right, well, guess what? We're going to do that. And I think we're going to do that. Let me see where else. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, if I go anywhere else, I'm not going to be able to get a constant 70 miles an hour speed. And if I go north on 75, I'm going to get hammered with the traffic, especially as I get later in the day. So it's a little further than I want to go. Maybe I can flip it around over here. I think if I do 60 miles round trip, that would be good. So I'll maybe see if I can flip it around somewhere over in here, maybe at the Big Cypress Wildlife Management area. That might be the better one, because I know that there are some gators over there. We may not have to go all the way over here to the supercharger. It's not like I need to charge there or anything. So we'll see. Let me just see what we've got over here. Miles City. Okay, Miles City. Hold on one second. Okay, so I just called Kyle, and what we're going to do, 56 miles is going to be the loop. Basically, it's 28 miles from here in Naples to Miles City. That's where I'm gonna flip it around, and we'll come back. Had we gone out to the Tesla supercharger, which is, where is that? That's all the way out here. That destination, Okeechobee, whatever it is, Okeechobee, Florida, that would have been 90 miles round trip. And I just spoke to Kyle, and he's comfortable that 56 miles round trip for each one of these three legs will be sufficient for us to be able to conclude the results. So that's good news. More time on my hands. But, one of the things about these testing procedures is you don't want to make a strategic decision. So I always check with Kyle to make sure I'm doing this properly. Now, I just want to point out, when I left the condo before I drove up here to Naples and preconditioned, my tires were all at 42 PSI, which is the right pressure to have. That's factory spec pressure on the tires. They've actually heated up to 48, 47. So they're all basically, give or take, a half a PSI. The factory tire pressures are what is in there, but they're warm, and it is 88 degrees outside today, so it's a little bit of a warm climate. We're going to be starting this with an 80% state of charge. We're at 78% right now, so we're about to take off in a moment here. We're going to keep the climate control on, let's see, we're going to keep the climate control on auto at 70. We're going to put it at 71 degrees, and we're going to use chill mode for acceleration. So let's go over here and put it in chill mode. Ride and handling, standard. Steering weight, let me go light on that, and that will be good. And then what I want to do is I want to reset my trip computer. So let's go down here to trips. Now you can see my trip basically from Connecticut down with the roof box on, I was averaging 346.7 watt hours per mile. I think at the end of the trip it was 350, but I've been driving around locally here, so it's bringing it down a little bit. So 350 watt hours per mile, that translates into roughly 2.6 miles per kilowatt hour. And so those are the numbers from my trip coming down here. We'll see what we recreate. So I'm going to reset the Connecticut to Florida with Roofbox on right now. And wait, hold on. Reset it. There we go. All right, so that has been reset. And we're going to be doing gentle accelerations onto the highway. We're going to reach 70 miles GPS speed. So what I'll do is I'm going to be using FSD on the whole trip when we're going across Alligator Alley. I will tell you that the road up from Naples down here, I should be able to carry 70 miles an hour for the most part, maybe a little bit less. And there are some stoplights there. But once I get on 75, then we're going to put it on 70. And I'm going to check to make sure that the car is actually GPS 70. So I'll use Waze for that. I'm going to maintain that 70 mile an hour GPS speed until the turnaround. I'm going to avoid drafting. I'm going to use regen to slow down, and I'm going to be doing gentle acceleration when I'm rejoining the highways and doing all that. And once I get halfway out to Miles City, I'm going to set the destination to be this exact supercharger again, so that we'll be able to precondition the battery as well. And then what we'll do is we'll return to the starting location and we'll record the efficiency testing. State of charge really isn't as important, but I'll note what that state of charge is at once we pull in with the roof box facing forward. Then I'm going to flip the roof box around. We're going to charge back up to 80%, and we're going to do that 56-mile loop again, and then repeat that, come all the way back, record all the data. And then what I'll do is I will do the same thing, but without the roof box. So I'm going to be giving Kathy a call, who will drive up here, and she's got my daughter's Jeep Wrangler, and I'm going to put the roof box in there, and then I'll drive the car on this same exact loop without the roof box as a sort of the control to see what it is. So this is going to be a fun one. I'm excited. Now, one thing I noticed here as I was driving down is actually one of these little plastic covers has flown off, and somewhere, maybe in South Carolina or Georgia, I don't really know, but these are just little snap-on covers that sort of cover up the lock and the mechanism here. There's not much I can do about that because it's a custom molded piece. And you can see that what's nice about this mount here, this crossbar from Tesla itself, is that locks to the vehicle. And then the Thule box also has a separate lock that locks the Thule box to the crossbars. So whatever is up there in the Thule box is really locked and safe. Now, one thing to note about the Model 3 Performance, this is running on the stock OEM 20-inch forged wheels with the aero covers on them. You can take those aero covers off, but this is a staggered setup, which means that the wheels, tires, well, the tires in the rear are 275/30 R20s, and in the front, they're 225/35 20s. So, and they're basically, because of the heat, they're at 47 to 48 PSI, but I started off today at 42 PSI. They've just warmed up. So we're at factory spec for the tires, and yeah, good looking car. Man, I gotta tell you, it's a really awesome car, and I'm excited to use FSD on this trip and listen to some tunes. The stereo system, amazing in this vehicle, and FSD, really good, guys. It's gotten so good. All right, so we've hit 80%, and we're now going to unplug. We'll put this back in the holster right here. There we go. And I think it's time for us to set off on the journey. Let's do it. All right, so let's go ahead and reset the current drive, reset. Since last charge, that's reset. We just unplugged, and we're gonna hit one more time, Connecticut to Florida. I've got 4,818 miles on this vehicle so far, with an average consumption of 306 watt hours per mile. But, you know, look, a lot of that is, it was well below 270 before I started on this trip. It's because I'm doing a lot of local around town. But let's go ahead and get started here. This is exciting. We've got, remember, this is Roofbox mounted forward. So Not much to see here, folks, other than me driving to the middle of Alligator Alley, or not quite halfway across, doing a 56-mile loop style test here on the Thule Motion XT large roof box on top of the 2024 Model 3 Performance. So the road we're on right now, heading up to 75, it's about a 6 or 7 mile stretch where the speed limit is only 50 miles an hour. So once we get all the way out to Miles City, we're going to be doing 70 miles an hour on I-75 Alligator Alley across. That we're going to be doing a 70 mile an hour GPS consistent speed. But here on 951, we're keeping the speeds under 55 because the speed limit is 50. And so, you know, the average speed on this entire trip is going to be less than 70 miles an hour. But the key thing is that all three of these independent runs, loop style runs, are going to be done under this controlled experiment, which will give us the data to then say what percentage or what kind of efficiency are we seeing. So it's going to be interesting. So as we're heading on to 75 towards Miami, Alligator Alley, it's 7.2 miles from the supercharger in South Naples where I charged up to 80%. We're currently at a 77% state of charge, showing 234 miles of range, and it took us 15 minutes. So, you know, like that was almost an average speed of about 30, right? So somewhere around there, with stoplights and so on. So average watt hour per mile, just under 300, 299 or so. So we've got a toll up here that we're going to pay, or maybe not, and then we're going to put it on 70 mile an hour GPS and let it rip and listen to some tunes. All right, so we've popped it up to 70 miles an hour. We're on chill mode in FSD, and I put the maximum speed to 71, which is actually 70 miles an hour GPS according to Waze. So 1 mile per hour over 70 in this vehicle when it reads on the screen in the Tesla is 70 miles per hour. All right, so we're at the halfway mark here. Let's just check this out. We are exactly 28.6 miles from where we started, and we've been going 34 minutes, and I'm in chill mode, so definitely accelerating nice and easy up over this hill. And we're going to get back on heading north on 75, even though it cuts across east-west. It's early.
Turn left to take the Interstate 75 west ramp toward Naples.
Okay, it's north-south. So what we're going to also do now is we're going to, when we get back on here, we're going to set the battery to precondition. We're going to set our destination to be back at the Lely Resort here. Okay, so here we are at the halfway mark, getting back on 75 north, ease on the acceleration, and we're going to bring it up to speed. And let's see, we are, as far as the statistics on this trip, we've burned 312.7 watt hours per mile. That's the efficiency, the average energy. And yeah, I mean, so let's just go ahead. We'll put this back on FSD, and we're going to put the max down to 71. There we go. And we're heading back now. So good turnaround there, good spot. And we're exactly, well, we're 29.7 miles away into the trip, and the destination that we've set is, oh, pay attention, Dave.
Drive west on Interstate 75 north.
And we're 27 miles away from the supercharger. So here we go. Okay, so we are about a half a mile away from the supercharger where we've been preconditioning for ever since we did the turnaround. and we're going to be plugging in again. We're currently at a state of charge of 56%, showing 171 miles of range. Let me cut all the way over here, and superchargers are right over here. What we're going to do here is we're going to log and see exactly what the efficiency was with the roof box mounted forwards. We're going to flip it around, mount it backwards, and then we're going to do the same run and see how it compares. All right, so we plugged in, we're pulling the juice, and it's time to flip this box around. It's actually really easy to do that. You just basically unscrew these clamps, and what that does is that just takes the clamps and moves them, as opposed to being shut onto the unit. You just unscrew them and put them super wide, and then we'll go ahead and flip it around. Now, one nice feature of this Thule Motion XT large box is it opens on either side. It's kind of got a unique hinge here over here that sort of does double duty, which is pretty cool. So, you know, unscrewed the ones over there. Let's see, we're gonna unscrew these. Go super wide there. And do the same thing on this one over here. And I think I'm gonna be able to move this around, just pivot it around. I think it should be relatively easy. At least I hope so. All right, just as I thought, super easy. And the roof box doesn't look bad. It's got the branding up there. But one thing, prepare for the bug onslaught, because you see this little puppy right here? They're flying all over the place here. I don't know what they call these things, but this is the front of the Thule box. So it's gonna need a little steam cleaning afterwards. But let's get this thing all secured down with the clamps, and then we'll be able to do leg number 2. All right, so with the roof box mounted backwards, we're at an 80% state of charge, showing 242 miles of range. Let's go ahead and take a look at the efficiency statistics on this last trip that we just did. So you can see there we went just under 58 miles, took about an hour and 10 minutes, and we were at 305.7 watt hours per mile. So right now we're gonna go ahead and recreate the same exact trip, and we're gonna see how that compares. So let's go ahead and reset the current drive, reset, and we're also going to reset this. Actually, you know what? We'll leave, what happened there? Hold on. Trips, we'll leave this Connecticut to Florida. That'll just be let me rename that. That's going to be three runs, roof box test. So we'll do that as the overall test to kind of see the average as far as what we've done. So yeah, let's hit the road. Let's do this. All right, well, that was actually super easy. We've got the Thule box is now mounted backwards, and we're just gonna finish up the charging session and take down the data on how we did on that first leg with the Thule box mounted going forward. But you know, it doesn't really look half bad. I mean, would you make the mistake of putting it backwards? Probably not. But it still says Thule properly when you look at it. And yeah, I think this is going to be interesting, especially because of the shape of this box. It's kind of angled, you know, angled down like this in the front. All right, let's do this. Same exact loop we're going to be doing right now. All right, so for run number 2, where the roof box is mounted backwards, there's no sightline differences. I can't see the roof box at all out of the front windshield unless I really lean forward. So it's the right size for the Model 3, in my opinion. There is an extra large Motion XT. You can probably get away with it, but I think this really looks the part, and I think it's the right size. It just seems to be appropriate. Sometimes you don't want to go too big. So we're in chill mode. Riding handling is standard, and I'm also steering weight light, and I'll be using FSD. Again, we've got 7.8 miles from here on Tamiami, which is Highway 41. We're going to be turning left on 951 up to Route 75, and we're going to be heading south on 95 out to that turnaround area where we just went. It's basically 28 miles one way. So let's hit it. Okay, so as we approach exit 80 off of 75 south, we're at the halfway point of number 2 run, which is the Roofbox backwards, and we are currently, let's just see, we're on FSD. But I'm not sure that I have this exit placed in. Oh, there we go. It is getting off here. Okay. So the trips we've burned now, we're 28.1 miles into the trip, 33 minutes, and we've burned, average energy is 308.6 watt hours per mile. For the life of me, I don't remember what it was the first time. So I'm going to compile all the data at the end to see, but yeah, let's hang in there. In the meantime, this FSD has been so good. It really has been terrific. Now here comes a guy from the left, kind of hauling, what is he, a Honda Accord? And come on, keeper. All right, so we're about ready to get back on 75 north. Look, Mom, no hands. Okay, so we just exited 75 northbound, and we are heading back to the supercharger, and off we go, right? I mean, look, we're gonna see the difference, and then right after this run here, I'm gonna be taking the roof box off, and I've got Katie driving up from the condo. I'm gonna put the roof box in her Jeep Wrangler 4xe, which she's been loving. I need to do a review of that with her while she's visiting. So maybe I should do that. In any event, and then I'm going to run the same loop. And then guess what? Then it's feeding time, dinner time. All right, so we're coming to the tail end of leg number 2, where the roof box is mounted backwards, and we're going to be plugging into the supercharger here shortly. And Katie's supposed to be over here. We'll see with her Jeep. Let's cut all the way over. Come on, puppy. You can do it. Go on. Go on. Yeah, baby. Yeah. Very good. All right, now, you got to yield, but no one's coming. Just takes it. Look at that. Just perfect execution. Now, do you know where the supercharger is, FSD? Don't hit the curb. Don't curb my wheel. All right, that's good. Some of the early, no, I don't want to go this way. I guess you could go this way, but maybe this is a little bit of a shortcut. One of the things with it being 90 degrees outside right now, I just want to check the tire pressures. They're like 49 all around right now. So heat definitely increases. One of the other things that I do want to do is, as I did the last time, I want to keep the cabin cool so that I don't use the energy of the vehicle in order to bring the cabin down. So I'm going to go to keep mode like I did the last time. And we're going to keep the cabin at 70, what did I have it? 71 degrees. So yeah, time to plug in. Let's do that. And then I'm going to undo this roof box. All right, so here are the statistics with the roof box backwards. We drove a total of 57.7 miles, 1 hour, 8 minutes, and 309 watt hours per mile. So I'm not so sure that this is better, because if you look at the average, 307.5, I think it was worse, and a lot of people think it's better. Now, it could be that the design of this Motion XT, because it has a relatively blunt kind of nose to it in the front, it's possible that that might be the culprit. Oh, there she goes. All right, so now we're going to do the control loop where we're just leaving the roof rails mounted. Now, for all of those who say, wait, that's not a true test, it would only probably be better without the roof rails. Call me lazy, they're kind of difficult to take off. Took me a while to put them on, and I'm literally driving back up to Connecticut with the Roofbox the day after tomorrow. So I think that, you know, this is close enough for horseshoes and hand grenades, as they used to say. I think it's going to be a good test to be able to see what is this vehicle going to do without the roof box on it, even taking into account I've got these roof rails. A little bit of air turbulence disruption there where I lost my cover, but I think we're going to get a good idea. And it should be interesting to see how much, I think the real story here is how much more efficient or how much less efficient is a Model 3 Performance with a roof box versus without it. Forwards, backwards, it's negligible. 1.3% is what I calculated. 305.7 watt hours per mile on the way out with the roof box mounted normally, which looks good, versus 309.7 with the roof box mounted backwards, which actually looked okay, but nothing about that roof box mounted backwards shouted to me it's going to be more efficient. Now, the one thing that I would say is that it depends on the roof box. Not all roof boxes are created equally. If you look at the roof box that I have here, this Thule Motion XT Large, you'll see the back of the roof box kind of goes and angles in, and it's, as opposed to putting the air over the roof box, it's directing the air under the roof box, which is probably creating some turbulence and what have you. Now, if you've got a different roof box that is more teardrop shaped on both ends, where it's kind of more like an air dam, traditional air dam in the rear as well as the front, you may experience a different result. So by no means should you be taking my test today and generalizing, saying, oh, all roof boxes are more efficient going forward. I can tell you specifically the Thule Motion XT roof box is more efficient mounted normally forward. That I can tell you. So let's get in the car. Let's do the same loop, do the control loop now, and see how efficient it is, this Model 3 is, without any roof box, but with the roof rails as the caveat. All right, so we're on the final leg here, the control loop. Let's just take a look at the trip so far. So we've gone, well, when we get off the exit, we'll check in, but the efficiency is a lot better, 263.1 watt hours per mile versus 305.7 or 309.7. So significantly more efficient at the halfway mark. Same speed, no traffic. Yeah, so that's what we've got. That's what we've got going on here. All right, I'm gonna get off this same exit right now, and we're coasting off, trying to use regen if we can. We're gonna get on north on Highway 29 just for a brief moment. I gotta come to a full stop and then ease into it in chill mode. It's a pretty big hill here for Florida because it's going up and over. On that last leg, I was just looking in the side. There's some canals, there's a giant fence there, which my understanding is the fence is there not to keep the alligators on that side of the fence, although I think it helps. But my understanding is that the Florida panthers, there's so many panther, big giant cats that would get killed, hit by cars. And so they put this giant fence up on both sides of Alligator Alley. I'm not going to be able to roll through this stop sign or through this intersection here, just because as there's a lot of traffic. I don't know where it's coming from, but yeah, a lot of traffic here. So, but I did see an alligator floating, big. I mean, at least 8 feet long. mean, I don't even know how to judge, but you could definitely see his back and you know, the diamond back or whatever the scales are. I don't know what you call it. But all right, we're easing up, back up to speed, and we're at the halfway mark. And let's just see. Yeah, 260.7. Okay. We'll put it back on FSD. We're on chill mode. And we'll get the speed back down to 71, which is 71 is GPS 70. All right, so let's take a look at what the efficiency was. Again, 57.5 miles in an hour and 5 minutes. There wasn't, you know, not as much traffic. What happened was the construction out on I-75 was done for the day. But basically it was about the same, very, very much the same. 266.8 watt hours per mile. So if you look at the difference between 305.7 watt hours per mile, which was with the roof box on, we're talking about a 12.8% savings over not having the roof box on. So it's about roughly 13% cost to ride around with the roof box on. It's not insignificant at all. I mean, that's meaningful data. So a 13% difference between, basically 12.8%, call it 13% difference between having a roof box on the roof or not having the roof box on the roof in this controlled loop that's really meaningful information to me. So, you know, I guess there's differences between roof boxes. This one's not a super large one. It's not super high, it's not super long, but basically it's more than 10%. Now, the difference between this roof box mounted forwards and backwards is negligible. I mean, it is basically 1.28% or 1.3%. And it was worse, right? So you know, if you're getting the Motion XT Thule box, do not mount that backwards because A, you're gonna look stupid, and B, it's less efficient. So with that, I think that, yeah, we did the test. So I'll put the numbers in the description, and basically the headline is, if you ride around with a roof box on, at least in this car, with that configuration, it's about 13% less efficient. And if you run around with the roof box that I had backwards, it's just not worth it. 1.3%.